This was my first year being aware of and doing Stitchmaynia, and what I did was I picked 15 projects, most of them whips, a couple new ones, put them all in bags, had them all in a bin, and then I just grabbed whatever I was in the mood for that day. Towards the end I kind of petered out, but I kept it going almost the whole time, the 15 days, and I'd like to show you what I accomplished in that time. So I'm going to start with Celtic Santa. This is the Ireland Santa, and it's the first Mill Hill bead kit I've ever done. I have done some perforated paper before, but nothing like this with the beading and everything. After doing this one, I definitely want to get the other Santas. In fact, I did get them towards the end of the month. And I finished this guy the day after Stitchmaynia was done, so on the 16th. I think I got almost all the cross stitching done in one day, which was really motivating. Here's what I accomplished on the Ireland Santa for day 1. I guess there's a bit of grass missing under his feet, but I did get most of the cross stitch done. The beading came later, and once I started doing the beading, I kind of couldn't stop. But doing just the cross stitch was really motivating, just because you feel like you've got a little finish, and then you do the beading, and you've got another finish, and then you do in this case you have to add his beard and his mustache, and it's another little finish, and then you cut him out, and you feel hugely successful. And yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I ended up going and buying, I don't know, like 10 more kits or something crazy like that. This next one, cute little Matryoshka dolls, was my very first Clouds Factory purchase. I printed it off at work because I don't have a printer at home, and thought that it would be fun to do another new start. So I did. I grabbed some scrap Ada, and I had the colors stashed away already, and so I just went ahead and did it. Here's what they looked like as I was starting out. I decided to kind of do the same element on each one as I went, and after a while I ended up going color by color, doing all the reds on everything and so on down the line. I kind of like this picture because, I don't know, somehow they look like little robot faces here. And here's what I achieved in one day. I did make the mistake of putting in the eyes before I did the face, and then I had trouble not carrying black wisps to the front, so I learned that lesson. But I'd rather learn it on a small project like this than on something major, so that was okay. I still think they're adorable. I loved stitching this one up. The next thing I pulled out was a really old whip. I have no idea when I started this. It's a Jeanette Cruise Designs pattern, and I'm working on the bottom one there, the one with the pelicans and the smaller boats. Hopefully one day I'd like to do the whole thing, but I decided to work a little bit around the boat. My thought was to get more of the boat done. Here's what I had to start with, kind of a close-up of the main part that I was working on. There's something wrong with the green color in the background, and I still haven't decided whether I'm going to frog that or not. But yeah, here's what I had to work with, and finding my spot and making sure that I hadn't missed anything, and it took a while to get my bearings. So if you compare this picture with the last one, I'd made a little bit of progress. I extended the boat just a bit, and one of the things I found with working on these old whips in Stitchmaynia is it reminded me why I'd picked these pieces in the first place, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I didn't do a huge amount, but I really enjoyed what I did get done. Next day I pulled out this pattern, this chart. It's a Beatrix Potter Christmas Tree chart. I love it. It's so, I don't know, it really looks like one of her paintings. And as I was stitching on it, I kind of wished I had known about hand-dyed fabrics, but I don't think I really was aware even that you could get much beyond white and ecru at this point when I started it. Here's what it looked like when I pulled it out. As I looked at it, my goal was to get that bunny done, that red jacketed bunny, and a little bit of the colors on the purple jacketed bunny, and work from there if I had the time. Here's what I achieved by the end of that day. I was able to fill in the bits of the purple and red bunny, and also start on a bunny that's kind of behind the red jacketed bunny. And I also filled in a bit more on the tree. That bit of red and brown in the upper left side, I guess kind of close to the duck, is going to be a robin, I believe, a European robin, a British robin. Again, this was one that I pulled out and I remembered why I had started it in the first place, and I wanted to just keep stitching it, but of course the next day I needed to pull out something fresh. Next day it was Janlynn's Platinum Collection Tulip Time. It's designed by Pegasus Originals, and the original artwork is by Marty Bell, and I believe I originally chose it thinking that I'd give it to my mum, who's from England, and that does look like a very typical English country garden and cottage. This is the first one that I pulled out and thought, oh, I thought I'd done more. It's quite large, this project. It's on Ada, and yeah, it was larger than I had remembered, that's for sure. I really focused on that top right hand corner, adding more foliage, more of the leaves, more of the dark greens. I was trying to work my way over to where there's a patch of sky and it's almost all one color, but I didn't quite get there that day. The following day I pulled out Heaven and Earth Designs. This is a mini, the Enchanted Christmas Reindeer. I printed it out at work and I wanted to save on color printing. That costs a fair bit more than black and white does. So the picture's printed out in black and white here, but it is a color piece. You can't really tell because I haven't really gotten into any of the very colorful parts yet, but I thought I'd give this one a shot and see how much I could work on it. If I remember correctly, I picked this day to work on it because I was home all day, and so I could take advantage of the natural light. Here's where I started out at. As you can see, there are a few blocks, several blocks either filled in or getting there. My goal was to finish the top line of the top page. And by top line, I mean the top row of 10 by 10 blocks. As you can see by my end of the day picture, I didn't quite finish that top row of 10 by 10 blocks, but I did do enough other stitches in other spots to feel like I had at least stitched the equivalent or more. So I didn't feel bad about not technically meeting my goal. As you can see, I'm using waist knots when I can, and I'm basically stitching cross country. I'm a bit picky about my backs, I guess, or maybe not picky, but inordinately proud. That's not a good thing, but so for now at least I'm sticking with cross country. We'll see if it hasn't been super confetti-ish yet. I might change my mind on that eventually. We'll see. My first frosted pumpkin. This was a new start as well, a brand new start. I chose to do it on some very light green fabric that I had left over from another project that I had originally thought to do but have since decided not to. And I thought I would maybe make a few changes, which you'll see in the next picture. And here's my progress by the end of that day. Those frames, I frogged both of them extensively, and I decided to do them in a Weeks Dye Works. I don't know the proper name or number, but it's a sort of a darker green for the most part. The variation is quite subtle, and I wanted the frames to stand out a bit more. I should say I think I cheated a bit and I either stitched like way past midnight or well into the next day or something to get both those frames, plus a bit of, I think that's Peter Pan there at the bottom. And you'll also notice, if you've done this one yourself, the Peter Pan, what looks to be orange, I discovered the next time I picked it up, yeah, that should have been a brown. So that ended up getting frogged. But this was one that I had a very hard time putting down when it came time to pick up the next day's project. It was a ton of fun. Here's a whip I've been working on for a while. It's for a niece of mine who's almost 5, and it will be her birth announcement cross stitch. And I am getting really close to finishing, as you'll see in the next picture. So a close-up of the bottom left-hand portion of the design, which is what I was focusing on because that's what's left to focus on. I just wanted to kind of build on what I had and move towards finishing. And again, this was another one that I picked it up and I thought, why did I ever put it down? It's so much fun to stitch. The colors are really neat. So I had a lot of fun with this one too. I just realized I'm forgetting to give some details. Sorry about that. I'll probably go back in and type them in so that if I didn't say them for everyone, if you're interested, the details will still be there for you visually. So this is the Earth. The title of the kit is Earth, and this is the picture that I took at the end of the day of stitching. Basically, I added a bit of the blues, I added a bit of the greens, I added a bit to the strawberries, a bunch of random colors. So it doesn't look a whole lot different, but I did make some progress. Another whip that I picked out, I'm sorry I don't have the picture of what the finished product should look like. It's called the Piece Sampler, and it's from a Just Cross Stitch magazine. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it might be May, June 2011 or 2012. The cover has a picture of a blue and white dinnerware with bright yellow lemons. But I've been working on this sampler. I started it about 3 years ago for a friend. It has a Bible verse further down that I haven't stitched yet. And it was meant for her and when she was going through a bit of a rough time. And then of course time passed and I felt kind of silly giving it to her. But something's happened again, something a lot more positive, I guess. And so it kind of suits again, and I've started really working on this one. So I'm glad Stitchmaynia came around, which forced me to look at all my whips, which forced me to haul this out and say, hey, I should give it another shot. So so here it is, and I'll show you how far I got in one day. One day's progress. It's amazing how much you can get done sometimes. So I got close to finishing that first row. I still needed to add the purplish flower, but there were a few pieces. And then the nice thing about this is when I get kind of bored with one row, I can always jump to another. So I did that a bit here too. It's stitched, if you're interested in the fabric, it's on a linen. I'm not sure what the count is off the top of my head, but the threads are different colors. The ones that run up and down are, I think, white, and the ones that run across are sort of more traditional linen color, or it might be the other way around. Sometimes that seems to make it easier to see where to put my stitches, and sometimes it just makes my eyes swim. But I hauled up my Ottlight, and that's been helping a lot, especially when I do the tiny rice stitches in the border. It's the yellow-brown border right underneath the bird's tail there. That's about halfway done in this picture. It's a stitch where you do a cross stitch and then you sort of cross each half of each leg. So you end up making, instead of just the 2 kind of basic stitches that make up a cross, you end up doing a total of 4 in and outs. No, 6 in and outs. It takes too long, but it's a neat effect. So I'll have to grow to love it because it's not just that border, there's another border exactly like that further down. But picking this up really inspired me to to see if I can get this done in time for the end of the school year, which will be the end of June. Moving right along, this is an ancient whip. I'm pretty sure I started this one in high school, which would be more than 15 years ago, closer to 20 years ago. And the one I'm working on is the Trumpeter swans, kind of in the center there. I chose to do it on a white fabric. Again, this is way before I knew anything about colored fabrics of any kind. And internet shopping wasn't really a big thing back then either, so I don't even know if hand dyes would have been available. But anyways, when I look at it, it cringe a little because my stitching isn't what it is now, but I decided that's what it was then, and it's okay. This is one that I was surprised how much I had done when I pulled it out. Here's what it looked like when I pulled it out. At first I thought it might be done, but when I looked more carefully at the pattern and what I had already shaded in to indicate that those stitches were done, I realized the reflection of the beaks was missing quite a bit, and then there were those odd spots where I had missed a stitch, maybe between 10 and 20 stitches in total over their necks and bodies, so that needed some attention. And here's where I got by the end of the day. I seem to recall I didn't have a huge amount of time to stitch that day, but I did manage to get a lot more of the beak reflection in, and I filled in, I think, almost all the stitches that were missing. If I remember correctly, there was one color that I needed to buy, but if you hold out till the end of this Stitchmaynia report, you'll find out what happened as far as new colors go. After working on all those ancient history whips, I really was craving a new start. So I went to cloudsfactory again and pulled down Little Red Riding Hood. I can't show you a cover sheet because it didn't seem to have one. So I just took a picture of the title. Further down on that page is the actual pattern, which I didn't want to show. And after a day of stitching, here's what we've got. It was a finish. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to display it, but boy was it fun. I'd like to stitch it again and fool around with the colors. I have a problem with yellow. I'd like to tone down that yellow or even change it out entirely on the grandma. But yeah, it was a ton of fun to stitch. It was nice to do something that I could start and finish in one day. And it'll be fun to find a small cheap frame and see what I can do to hang it up somewhere in the house. Karen Avery's Blessed Nativity, another ancient whip. The poor chart is fairly abused. If I remember correctly, this one went across the pond to Europe with me. And even being on the airplane wasn't enough time to get it done. If I remember correctly, there was a spot somewhere in there that I kept having to frog and refrog, and I got frustrated with it, and it was intended to be a gift for someone, and then in the intervening years, their taste changed and my taste changed, and it just kind of sat there. So I pulled it out and decided to give it a go for Stitchmaynia. Here's what it looked like when I pulled it out. As you can see, there's quite a bit done. None of the back stitching was done yet, except for, I guess, the part where it says Peace on Earth. And again, this is one where I look at the stitching, and I guess the positive way to look at it is I can see how far I've come. By the end of the day, I'd made a bit of progress. If I remember correctly, I worked a bit on the king, and then added some of the flowers underneath the text, and then I decided I wanted to go for the text because I knew that stitching those words would feel like I was accomplishing a bit. So I went for that. So we've landed on what I think is the 13th day of Stitchmaynia. This is a sampler, winter sampler, a Janlynn. I think it's available as a kit now, but I bought it just as the pattern. And it's fun to stitch. It's quite detailed. It takes some time, and I decided to incorporate some metallics in there, some Krennic. Basically wherever there was snow I wanted it to sparkle. So I pulled this one out again. Here's what I had accomplished before Stitchmaynia. I don't know if you can see the sparkle at all, but there you've got it. I'm not sure if I'm stitching it on an even weave or a linen, and when I pulled it out, I kind of thought the coverage wasn't the greatest. But when I held it further away from me, it's okay. It's not horrible. And there's no way I'm going to redo it all. So it was easy enough to decide to keep going. What I wanted to do is get more of that word winter stitched in. But it is a bit, I don't know, it's slow going. There's a lot of fiddly bits. So I thought I'd start with that and then see what happened. And by the end of that day, here's what I had accomplished. So I did manage to add a bit to the word winter. And then I decided to go down to where the snowman is and start a frame that's layered over the snowman portion. And then I went up to beside the girl inside the heart, and I added some back stitching, and I also did some back stitching on the skates. Usually I leave back stitching for last, but I decided on this one, because there's so much of it, that once I'm done stitching an area and I'm done stitching everything adjacent to it, I'll allow myself to backstitch. So that's what I did. And then we come to the end of Stitchmaynia. I still had 1 or 2 projects in my Stitchmaynia bin, but what I did instead was I went and bought floss. So my Michaels had a sale on, I think it was a 30% off coupon on everything you bought. And so I thought, okay, I have my app that tells me which DMCs I'm missing, and I had a couple that I wanted to buy. I think one for the swans, the Trumpeter swans, and so on. So I went to the Michaels and I picked out the first 10, and then I thought, well, it's a 30% off coupon, I could get another 10. So I picked out the next 10, and then I just kind of kept going. And I bought every single bit of DMC floss that I did not already have. They were missing 3 or 4 out of the whole set. I didn't buy any of the ones that are only available in boxes. I didn't buy any of the variegated, but all the regular floss that I needed and that I didn't need, I bought. And that meant, of course, I spent an awful lot of time bobbinating and reorganizing, and I ended up having to go to my local fabric store and buy more bobbins because I ran out. I also ended up more or less running out of space in the bins that I have. I should buy another one yet to hold my Krennics. For now, they're kind of all over the place. And I also had to take out my rayons, which I think they call silks now. So eventually I'll need to get a new case. Right now I've got them all stuck in 4 cases. I ended up turning them all on end once I had them organized into the new cases, and once I had everything bobbinated. It doesn't look as pretty, you don't see as much color, but it's so much faster finding the correct numbers. I don't know why this never occurred to me before. It was something I saw somewhere on Flosstube, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna try that. And as you can see, mine are organized by number. There's no way I would find things in time if I did it all by color. I'm just not the type of person to memorize numbers like that, even with a lot of use. You can see some of them are really fat. Some of them I ended up with doubles, and so I just kept winding. I figured it couldn't hurt. So that was my Stitchmaynia process. Wow. It was quite the experience. I would love to do it again. I'm glad it's such a flexible thing where you can work on whips or you can do new starts. That made it fun, and that way I was able to start some smaller things, and it really got my stitchy bug in high gear. So, whoever originally had this idea, thank you. That concludes my Stitchmaynia report, my Flosstube Adventures number 4. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and if you feel so inclined, press the like button, add a comment. I do try to respond to all the comments, So thanks for doing that. And thanks to everybody who's subscribed already. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful day.